Seconds. Order. Okay. Okay, you may start.
Okay. Ready? All right, I'm going to call to order this Town of Griswold regular meeting of the Board of Selectmen. Tuesday, September 24th, 2024, 6 p.m. Item number 1, call to order. Roll call, Tina Falk, first selectman, Martin McKinney, selectman, Rich Grabowski, selectman, Lisa Wood, executive secretary. Item number 2, pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, item number 3, approval of minutes. We have A, B, and C. We have September 10th, regular meeting minutes, September 11th, special meeting minutes, and September 17th, special meeting minutes.
I make a motion, we approve the minutes for September 10th, 2024, September 11th, 2024, and September 17th, 2024.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item number 4, correspondence. A, resignation of Ella Skorupski from the Public Health and Safety Committee.
I make a motion, we regretfully accept that resignation.
I'll second it.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to accept the resignation of Ella. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 4B, letter from PZC confirming reappointment of Melissa Cassidy as their representative to the School Building Committee for a term of 11/21/2023 through 11/18/2025.
I'll make a motion that we approve item 4B as presented.
I second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. I want to accept the letter. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Number 5, old business, discussion and possible action on securing possible media platform.
We haven't got any information back. I asked Lisa and I asked Eric, so we just haven't got any information back. So I guess in the next week or so, we'll go out to somebody else, and Lisa and Eric and I will sit down with another person, I guess, at this point.
Okay. Anything, Rich?
No.
No?
We need a motion to table it, or do you?
Yeah, motion table to next scheduled meeting, I guess would be fine.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to table item 5A. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 5B, discussion and possible action on status of Main Street decorative lighting.
Martin, do you think it would be reasonable to ask Frank for a proposal of what it would take to?
Absolutely.
And then we can look at it, and if we'll pass it on to the Board of Finance
Well,
and see if
that's
they
what
want to.
Absolutely. There was some talk the last time, for somebody trying to do some grant funding for it, you know, but that's the reason why I stopped, but absolutely.
Let's do that. Let's ask him if he can work up some
No,
numbers.
absolutely. I do have a small committee with myself, Paul, and we'll sit down with him by the next meeting and have Frank get us some numbers, no question about it.
Okay,
I'll make a motion that we table
Paul
item
last time, sorry.
5B to the next meeting. We can gather some more information, hopefully.
No problem at all.
and that includes more information on grant funding also.
Oh, I gotta do that too?
Huh?
I gotta do grant funding too?
No,
Oh, okay.
no. but, there have been some things that have been sent.
Okay,
Okay, item 5C, discussion and possible action on St. Mary's, St. Anne's, Glasgow Church and Playground. Okay, we're going to set up a walkthrough. We're going to schedule a walkthrough with Father Ted. It's probably sometime in October, but the way that this came up was, we had a complaint from a resident up in Glasgow. I don't even want to say complaint, but she was very concerned about the condition of the, playground up there. It's in very bad shape. And, the town does have some liability there with the playground. So we took a walk up there. Ryan Aubin with Youth and Family Services. He went up and he identified the areas. There has to be a certain type of wood chips that are down a certain grade. There has to be a certain depth. Some of the swings, it's very few. It's a very small playground, but we have to look at upgrading and making it a little bit safer. So we had a meeting with Father Ted, and I know that this has come up before in the past, and I think the town voted on it. The church had made the offer to the town to purchase St. Anne's Church for $1. So we want to do the walkthrough and see what we're looking at, and then probably look for what are the possibilities? How do we want to move forward on this? Because it just seems a shame that, in my opinion, that it's a beautiful building. I know it doesn't have anything. It has no running water. It has no sewer. There are no bathrooms, no electric, no heat.
asbestos and mold.
Yeah, I don't know. And I know, Father Ted did say that it had been vandalized. So right now it's closed up, but, I think that it's worth taking a walk through and a walk around the
Absolutely.
property to see. All right, so we're working on getting that scheduled. Any questions, comments?
I have one question, if I may. Ed was doing something out there originally when we first
The
started.
Veterans Coffee Club, right?
No, it
Well,
was something else.
yeah, basically, I kind of was the one that kind of was involved in getting it to a special town meeting where you mentioned about it passed,
Mhm.
but my understanding, and Todd knows a lot about this too, we had walked around it years ago, you know, it has a lot of issues, but because of the vegetation over the years, I think people are missing the diamond in the rough on that location. I mean, there's building issues, but the real estate, you know, if we pass on this, it's our own fault. You know, I mean, I'm not gonna prejudge what the town decides, that's a different thing, but I'm saying it's too bad if the town doesn't really wanna do it. I'm almost willing to form a nonprofit, because the church wants to get rid of that property. I'm
Yes.
telling you, they don't wanna have it. Cause they have directors within our organization, diocese, to unload that stuff. You know what I
Well,
mean?
we bought it, we own it, right?
No,
No,
We never gave him the buck.
oh,
No.
oh,
we didn't execute.
Oh,
on the
okay.
thing, but there isn't, in property law, there's a remainder interest in that property, okay? But you can get a release from the remainder interest. If you can't locate them, you go to probate and they have a hearing, they put a notice out for all heirs that, and then they will issue a decree. I mean, it's done all the time for, you know, I shouldn't say it's not done every day, but it's a common thing if you can't locate
Right.
remainder interest. But it's really the town and the church have that relationship. I don't want to interfere with it. I'm just saying, I'm biased on it because I've walked that property, but mainly because of that World War II monument.
Yes,
I mean, I'll wait till the public forum. That's why I came. I wanna, you
okay.
know, I don't wanna cut
Yeah.
it to your agenda.
No, no, no,
All
no,
that
no,
other issue.
no.
But, you know, you guys are right. There are issues with the building, but believe me, that real estate, you know, and you'd be
I agree.
surprised that the
I agree.
photography is ideal there for the
Yeah.
visuals and stuff in that area.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of history to it.
I was just gonna say there's a lot of
Because
history.
Mr. Glasgow, the guy that was a slave, he had a he was an entrepreneur in Connecticut.
Mhm.
He employed a lot of people. He was a black guy. He couldn't even vote in Connecticut. But he was like one of the biggest, entrepreneurs in this part of Connecticut, so. And he had a mill and everything there and a foundry. They took peat out of the ground. They had their own fuel. There's a lot of stuff around.
Lot of
around that
history.
property.
A lot of history.
Hmm.
All right. Thank you, Ed.
Yeah.
Okay, number 6, new business. Discussion and possible action on 16 tax refunds for a total of $1,444.73 as presented by Leona Sharkey, tax collector.
I'll make a motion that we approve the 16 tax refunds totaling $1,444.73 as presented by Leona Sharkey, our tax collector.
I second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. 6B, discussion and possible action on social media issues. I have nothing.
I,
I have nothing.
Nothing? Okay. We'll go on to 6C. Discussion and possible action on 2025 Board of Selectmen meeting dates. They're in here for the entire year. Do you see any problems with them or
No, I don't.
have any comments on any of the dates?
Nope.
Make a motion that we approve the meeting schedule for the calendar year 2025 as presented.
I second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to accept the Board of Selectmen meeting dates. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, 6D. Discussion and possible action on letter from the chairman of the ordinance committee. You've had a chance to read the letter. Any discussion?
Well, I think refresh my memory, but we made some recommendations back to them as far as the this particular ordinance is concerned, and if I'm reading this correctly, they're not accepting our recommendations. They want to leave it as they presented it. Am I correct? Is that an assumption?
That's my
That's the way I'm
understanding.
reading the letter.
Then if they don't want to make the
Any changes that we ask,
should we just leave the ordinance the way it is?
I have no problem with it.
Okay, any other discussion? Do we have a motion?
I make a motion in light of this letter that, they're not accepting any of our changes. That I make a motion, we keep the ordinance the way it's already adopted.
Is this in reference to the public health and safety ordinance?
Yes,
Yes,
I seem to verify.
Yep. I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
I,
Aye. 6E, discussion and possible action on skate park located on Hill Street. There's a letter in here from Ryan Aubin representing the
There's I'm sorry, go back a bit. There's, as far as item D,
yes,
isn't there another on the backside? There's another
Ordinance adjustment.
There's another ordinance thing.
okay, sorry. Town Building Committee ordinance. I apologize. So we're gonna go back to 6D for discussion on the Town Building Ordinance Committee,
Again, I'll take the,
Town Building Committee ordinance.
I don't see it being necessary until we have something worthwhile to form a committee. I don't see the benefit of having a standing committee for no reason at all.
We currently have a school building committee.
That's true. But I think that's a requirement. This state statute requires you to have that, doesn't require you to have a town building committee.
and the only issue I have, as like I indicated in meetings before, is I'm just concerned with the multiple clerks of the works. I'm concerned about multiple other issues in the writing of this one. So that's my thought process. So I agree with you, Rich, at this point then.
Then I'll make a motion that we not approve a town building committee ordinance as presented.
I second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second not to accept the town building committee ordinance. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Six E, discussion and possible action on skate park located on Hill Street. Okay, so we'll go on to the email that was sent from Rec Director Ryan Aubin. And he,
I understand what he's asking.
Mhm.
I think we need him to come forward with a more detailed plan and a cost estimates on some of this stuff.
Okay.
You know, I don't know if that's something the Public Works Department can do or choose not to do because they got enough on their plate already, but,
Mhm.
yeah, I understand what his concerns are and they're valid. There's no question about it. I just don't know what the cost factor is or what he would, you know, if he wants to do something more elaborate than just taking it out.
Mhm.
Yeah, and we spent a lot of, I was involved, we spent a lot of time raising money and getting that thing built. You know, and I guess, I thought there was like cameras back to the borough building and stuff like that to keep an eye on stuff. I'd just like to know a lot more before we. ask
Yeah,
for
me too.
discussion.
Yeah, and I
That makes
certainly
sense.
can.
Well, we're having some kind of a walkthrough on the 15th of October, am I correct?
Yeah, yeah.
For the fields,
Yeah.
yes, and I.
Well, we can incorporate this
We
as
can-
well.
Yeah, he did come in and talk to me. He's very concerned about the youth activity down there. They've been having quite a few problems. I don't know. I think we can have a conversation with Public Works to see. That skate park it was a grant opportunity. Am I correct?
And some private funds. Right.
And and I knew it had to remain there for a certain amount of time.
Has it hit that mark? Or no?
Oh, yeah, it's been, yeah.
Well, time flies.
Yeah.
But there's not a lot for the kids to do though, so I don't wanna start ripping all the playgrounds out and all those skate parks out and.
I think the biggest problem that you see down there is mostly scooters and bicycles. It really wasn't constructed to that. I think somebody needs to determine the liability if it's not a skateboard.
Yeah, so we'll talk with Ryan when we do the field walkthrough. And then we can probably invite him to the next selectmen's meeting to have a conversation. A public conversation
I'll
about it.
make a motion that we, table item 6E to the meeting, our next meeting after the October 15th walkthrough.
I second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to table item 6E. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 6F, discussion and possible action on policy of notification of new businesses. How do I want to present this? It seems, and Lisa, you can kind of confirm, we're running into some instances where there are businesses that are popping up in town, and there seems to be no communication as to, gee, a new business came in, and you either drive by it and find out. So Lisa started pulling from other towns. What is their policy for when a business wants to come into town? What is the procedure? I know that I've been told, that if it's a rental and it's commercial property, then the landlord can simply just say to the business, go ahead.
If it fits in the
You can rent it.
criteria, what the commercial property is, right?
Right. And what happens then is, again, you have a business that came into town. The tax collector's not aware of it, the assessor's not aware of it, and it's happened on more than one occasion. So we want to start working on a recommended policy, and so that we can present to the board on how we can go about changing this and have better communication. I know that there's a new business across the street, and they came in, nobody was notified about it. I mean, I know that the town planner was aware of it, but that was never communicated to anybody else.
And I don't know if people understand this, we approved a great big beautiful building down there and 2 lots in the industrial park. Down by, on 138, and nobody knows that either. So there is a communication issue
Yeah,
on good stuff and the bad stuff. Nobody knows kind of anything, to be
yeah,
honest with you.
and
Can
there,
I make a recommendation? Maybe if we
Yes.
can get whatever material that Lisa was able to put together and
Mhm.
ask the ordinance committee to take a look at it and see if we can come up with some ideas on how to
Sure,
best handle this.
Want that as a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we take item 6F and ask the ordinance committee to take a look at it and see what we can do if we formulate an ordinance that would address this issue.
I second that.
okay, we have a motion and a second to review other towns' policies on notification of new businesses and share that with the ordinance committee to see if we might be able to craft something that would be good for the town of Griswold. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Okay, moving on to 6G. Discussion and possible action on concerns regarding rental properties. That's another complicated one. We've had quite a few properties that have been taken over by out of town landlords. And we're having considerable concerns, complaints, inspection problems where these properties are just not up to code. And last week we had a 4-family here in the borough that we received a complaint. Health department contacted me. Health department went in, building inspector went in, fire marshal went in, and there are some pretty serious concerns. And when you try to work with these out-of-town property owners, it's not working, and it's growing, and it's concerning.
If it becomes a health issue, can they remove those people from those apartments and house them, whether it's in a hotel or somewhere, and pass it on to the landlord?
Well, here's the law. And I know because I've done numerous relocations. If there are code violations or heat is not provided, safety issue, fire, the law states, the statute is that that family or those tenants must be relocated. Okay? The landlord is responsible for the payment of that. Okay? If the landlord declines, then it lies on the town to provide services up to $4,000 per unit.
But can we attach their property?
We can attach their property. It's been done in the past, not so successfully, but that's how it works out. I can remember, there were condo units.
But we can also prevent them from renting it again.
Oh,
If
yeah,
it's been
it has to be
condemned,
brought back up to
Now,
code.
this
Yeah.
particular one you were just talking about, were the violations that extreme that we shut it down, or they weren't that extreme? that
Fire
they shut it
marshal is
down?
working on that right now. I mean, it was a situation where the tenant complained that the beams structure downstairs, you could take a knife and they would just crumble. Sagging floors, so that's currently in the works.
So we
to
haven't,
work on.
our departments haven't evaluated whether,
Mm.
where it is at this point.
What do you mean, our departments?
Well, the health department hasn't said it's,
Health department went in, there wasn't anything health related, like they were complaining about mold.
right,
Patrick McCormick said it wasn't enough for him
okay.
to condemn, but he was concerned
And
about.
our
the
building
condition.
official didn't condemn it, and our fire marshal didn't condemn it to this point, correct?
Fire marshal went in and he's supposed to be going in with the building official.
Okay,
And if they are in agreement, then a relocation will have to accommodate them
Okay.
with a relocation. So. So what we're looking at is, again, we're looking at other towns. I don't think that we need a strong housing code because it can become very complicated. But this Thursday, we have a meeting with Patrick McCormick, Tom Halawadi, to talk about, and the building inspector, in fact, to talk about what can we do to prevent this from happening. And Patrick McCormick, in fact, the building that we're having a problem with right now has inundated Norwich with the same complaints. And they're getting no cooperation from the property owner. He's buying property from Moosup all the way down past Norwich. And
They're
it's,
they're getting $1,400 a month for these dumps, you know, in Jewish City.
so we're gonna be working on coming up with some type of property, rental property guidelines and requirements.
And maybe our attorney can put some trouble damages, not so we're just getting our money back, but we're getting some, some compensation for the process.
So
I'll make
that,
a motion that we table 6G until we get responses from the building official, fire marshal, and health department on this issue.
we have a motion.
I second that. But I guess my concern is, as a board of selectmen, do we want to be involved in all tenant debates and stuff like that? Can't we just let the building official, the fire marshal, and the health department do their job and
that's
why
what-
does it have to go to the board of selectmen each?
Not necessarily, but
Okay.
they're bringing it to our attention, I
Okay.
think. yeah.
No, I understand.
Yeah,
but-
because the complaint, the calls come into the selectman's office, so at that point you have to determine, okay, well, what is the complaint about? Do we go to the health department? Do we notify the building inspector?
Okay.
So you pass it off to
I
the
just see this
appropriate
becoming
agency.
potentially an agenda item,
No, well, we hope not, but I just think it's ever since COVID. And there were a couple of property owners, they've been property owners for years in town. And they sold. And there are two particular out-of-state companies that came in and they started scooping everything up. And it's, I think if we don't get it resolved, that there are gonna be bigger problems,
I agree.
because when the town is on the hook to replace families, for up to $4,000, it's concerning.
Mhm.
So, and I try to let Eric know about it, ahead of time, that there's a possibility that we may be doing some more relocations, so. All right, so we had a motion and a second you did second, yes?
yes, I did.
Okay, to table item 6G. All in favor?
All right.
Aye. And number 7, any other business that may properly come before the board?
I'll make a motion that we bring onto the agenda for discussion and possible action, a letter on Matt's Mission's request for funding for their project.
I second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to bring correspondence on from Matt's Mission. So this is a request, this is nothing new. Money comes in through the opioid settlement. And Matt's Mission, they gave you the breakdown. It's a pretty impressive list of what they've accomplished with the funds that they've been given and what they're doing, a lot of work. So in 2023, they were allocated $3,000 and their expenses were $4,086.02. And this letter is requesting an allocation for this year of $5,000. I did talk with the finance director and he said there is plenty of money in the settlement to accommodate this request.
I'll make a motion that we approve this request for $5,000 from Matt's Mission and the monies to be appropriated through the opioid settlement fund.
I second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to allocate $5,000 to Matt's Mission from the opioid settlement funds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, do we have any other business come before the board?
I have one.
I have none.
Okay, then we'll move on to number 8, public forum.
It's where, 754 Vine Town Road, east to the end of the community, end of the month. A public forum, I know it's me talking, but I wanted, because of the timeout, see if the board of selectmen or the town of Groveland in particular would be, receptive to energizing or reinitiating, moving that war monument, St. Anne's to either Veterans Park or Family Park, depending on the discussion of the board of selectmen for the town. Because there's 103 names on that memorial. And, no one knows about it, you know? And it could, and I know there was some initial resistance by Bill Smear, William Smear, when he was alive, to relocating it, but I'd like to start the process to see if it can be relocated, if there would be any resistance, and I would be willing to capture all the archival information before, if it gets approved, to be relocated. We capture, you know, historical where it is now, and then even raise funds for a plaque to explain the transition from
The
where
history
the
of it.
location was. And it's a World War II monument. It's a nice monument, but it's kind of overgrown and people drive by it all the time.
Yeah,
In a way,
it's sad.
it's just being
It's sad.
disrespectful to the monument in a way. That's my inference from going there. It's like,
I agree,
you know, that's just my
I
thought.
agree.
The other thing is, if it happens and we can do it, we're willing to make it part of the Veterans Day, November 11th ceremony. If it gets relocated, either Veterans Park or Fanning Park. So that's.
This year?
Yeah, if we, you know, Todd can make it happen. I know Todd in this group.
That's
Todd,
fast.
do you agree? I mean, it's not a super, it
Yeah,
can happen. If
we could move it. I just think that we need to get direction there.
Yeah, we'll.
And I will talk with Father Ted about it also. We're meeting
And I
with
would
Father
take
Ted
some
tomorrow.
Do the landscape, you know, really, we could really enhance it where he's gets relocated.
Okay.
Or pad, it's gonna go extend.
Yeah. Or we can get
Do-
some.
should we talk to the borough where they want it?
We can do a lot of stuff. I definitely have a place.
I mean, I'll talk to Lori about it, but I
My recommendation would be, Veterans Park.
I agree. I agree.
Mine also.
There's
Mine
an
also.
awful lot of stuff in
Yeah,
that.
that's, but and plus it's Veterans Park, you know, what I mean, it's kind of, there's nothing
And,
there.
and I will tell you that I did get a phone call this afternoon from the Veterans Coffee House. They are in strong support of relocating that memorial, so, and they're also willing to help.
And, the other thing I wanna mention is a shout out to, you know, I know the road crew takes, you know, you guys and everybody, the town garage, but they've done a phenomenal job on some of these roads this past year. I mean, that Lathrop Road, I mean, you know, I just wanna personally thank you and the guys out there. You ought to be living out there working, you know, but, you know,
Alan,
well, what I'm saying is, that, you know, I'm telling you, that road is like primo.
it did
really
come out
is.
nice, it did.
I
I know the residents are very happy.
yeah, and, this is like long-term planning. I think this is, I'm just commenting, because I'm not gonna be commenting in the future, but it might be something we should have a committee for planning civic events throughout the year. Like Memorial Day, Veterans Day, and these other holidays, and there's a lot of things that, but I mean, if there was a committee or volunteers that we could get input from all the different communities to plan these things and enhance them.
Mhm.
Cause it can bring more civic engagement to our communities, you know, I mean, that's the thought I had, because if couple of key people die, some of these things are gonna drop, they're gonna die in a vine, you know what I mean? That's kind of what I'm worried about.
I know.
That's all I have.
Thank you, sir.
With that being said, and as fast as we have to move on this, I think we should try to get it on the agenda and make a motion that we try to move it to Veterans Park, or because if we wait till the next meeting,
Yes.
that's gonna be, just a thought. The timing is kind of fast, that's all. So if we even wait till your next meeting, it's less than 30 days to do everything, move in and all that stuff. That's my thought process. I don't know what everybody else thinks.
We've got some special meetings coming up. Can we add to that agenda, Lisa?
The 10 o'clock Thursday, could, if I revise it, I posted it today, means I would have to revise it tomorrow morning by 10 o'clock.
Okay, so Because it's too late to add it onto this agenda, right?
Yes,
This one,
Yeah, so could we add it onto the special meeting?
the special agenda for tomorrow is too late, yes.
Yes, but for Thursday?
But Thursday at 10 a.m., we could do if I revised it by 10 a.m. tomorrow morning.
Okay. Are you okay with that?
I'm okay with whatever you tell me to do.
Please and thank you.
Okay,
Please
you're
and thank
welcome.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Dave View, 59 Way Avenue. Couple items. One was, have you made any progress on the Woodcrest Drive issue? Talking with a person from another town, they had a similar issue with a semi truck being parked in a residential. And they went after the business and were going to penalize them for operating a commercial enterprise in a residential area.
It's interesting.
Yeah,
I know that Lori was working on that part of it. The road, the condition of the road, I know something was addressed today. The drainage?
Took the existing yard adjacent to the road. Took the open top protection off the catch basin top on it. Inspected the pipe was not failed, so it was just settled in the road. Of that pave, I don't know if I got that.
So we've started working, a couple of the issues are being addressed and looked at.
one item on the playground facility in Glasgow, when I lived in Norwich on Mount Pleasant Street, we built a park where the old Mount Pleasant Street School used to be, on top of the hill.
Yeah.
And instead of using wood chips, it was recommended to use this shredded or ground rubber stuff.
Rubber.
Cause it was more hygienic, didn't attract bugs, didn't rot. Yes, it was black, but what kid cares when he falls into it?
Yeah.
You know, if it's better and cheaper, it might be something to look at.
It's whatever the insurance company requires. And I think even up at the school, and correct me if I'm wrong, and I don't know, do you know, they're using wood chips?
I think it's acceptable in Connecticut to use rubber.
Rubber, okay.
It's just you have to get it to a certain spectrum size.
Is it cheaper? Okay,
We've always done. Chip, years came from insurance.
all right. We'll check that out. Okay, anything else, Dave?
Yeah, I'm kind of curious. Scheduling of special meetings, I always thought you had to have 24 hours to repost or reschedule, revise, and that's what I'm hearing Lisa say tonight.
Yeah.
That if she wants to add something, she's got to do it tomorrow by 10 to have it for Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
Yesterday, meetings were changed from 9 to 10, and it wasn't posted on the board till 9:30.
It was from 9, it went from, I think, 9 to 2. Or 1.
Yeah, there was a change in the time. It was my error. I was out of the state and I'd made an error on the time. So Tina was just trying to correct the time.
Yeah,
It didn't
it
change
was
any of
brought
the
to my
items.
attention and I corrected the agenda.
Yeah.
Okay, but it's just, if the ordinance committee goes through making rules, planning and zoning, their crew makes their rules for their stuff. And we just need to follow our own rule book and not be changing things and doing things outside of the rules.
this was simply a small mistake, one-time thing.
Yes, well,
It
there's
was
more
a
to
very
it than
simple
that.
error. It's not, if, I can understand your argument if it was a constant thing.
Yeah.
This is one in how many years of scheduling meetings that we had this issue?
Or if it was changing an agenda item, but it was
Yeah.
strictly only the
The time.
time. It was a
But
clerical
if
error.
you have a quorum of your group and you have a meeting, you're supposed to post an agenda.
Yeah.
The
And
meeting-
that's why we have the special meetings.
Right, but the meeting that was held with the town's attorney, Mario, and the quorum of selectmen was never published, because I never saw it or I would have been there.
What meeting was,
What are you talking
I don't
about?
know, you have to give us a date.
It was referenced during yesterday's meeting that there was already a meeting held over the St. Mary's School property. And decisions were made, and it was never posted or put out to the public.
We've done special
That was-
meetings.
Yesterday's was the St. Mary's. The one prior to that, these two were not present. That was
Yeah.
the first one you had with
Yeah,
the,
they were not present
and
at
the
the
town
first one.
attorney was at that meeting.
That's
but not
why
the
we
other
had
two.
the special meeting yesterday with these two to bring them up to speed with
Okay,
what
'cause
was happening. with
It
St.
seemed
Mary's.
like what came out of that meeting yesterday was that decisions were already made. And it wasn't even. public
Not by
knowledge
us,
No.
not by
yet.
us.
Okay,
There's a whole thing with the developers and the legal and everything else. There are decisions that are made that we can't control. But the reason we had a special meeting yesterday was because I wanted these two present to hear what was being proposed. And there's another follow-up St. Mary's meeting with these two tomorrow
yeah,
that was scheduled and it, at their request, so it's a special meeting and it has been
Yeah.
posted. Yeah,
but I just want to ensure that when this regime took over, they vowed transparency.
it's
And
as
I'm
transparent as it gets,
Yeah.
Dave.
And I was really surprised at yesterday's meeting.
What, because they said that there was a meeting and decisions were made?
Yeah.
No, no, I make no decisions without these two at a special meeting and we can vote.
All right, then I'm under a misunderstanding.
Yeah, no, and trust me, it is a misunderstanding and a misstatement. So,
Okay.
okay, I can assure you of that. Anything else?
No.
Okay, thank you. Yes,
Email 11 Pequot Trail. So, Dave's here too, but, we'll bring these, requests for the, new business ordinance. We'll take a look at that, work with you on that. I
okay,
also wanted to bring up about the, town building committee ordinance. We should probably set up a meeting, talk more about that, for the ordinance.
okay.
Just so we can clarify what we're looking at.
You want a meeting for that with the ordinance committee?
Yes. Talk about, if you remember, the ordinance has a $500,000 trigger point that turns on a committee. You don't always have to have a committee. There's a $500,000 limit for the project. So if you reach that limit, then you need to set up a committee for the project.
Okay.
I disagree, but I
Um,
think I made the motion not to
Proceed.
proceed with that. It was voted on.
So I think need to have more conversation about that. I also wanted to talk about the St. Mary St. Anne's. I agree with Ed, something that I drove by that place, looked at it. The playground spot is nice plot of land there,
It is.
and a lot can be done with that, can be done with that. Over the monument, I don't have a problem with that. The building, you guys can make a decision on that, but it is getting overgrown. I'm sure it'd be a nice lot or something, but that playground's got a lot of possibilities that I know our neighbor there in Plainfield's been getting grants for a nice playground right next to the town hall. That could be,
I got from Hartford a couple of communications on possible funding for projects like that. But the other thing that we have too is we've got the Little League, and that's why we're doing the walkthrough on the Little League complex, because that place is horrible. The playground is horrible. And we got a call from Public Works earlier this week. In fact, it was first thing Monday morning. And we were called out there, so I grabbed Eric and we went out and, first of all, the playgrounds are supposed to be monitored and inspected, and they haven't been in a very, very long time. And the condition is horrible. So we're gonna do a walkthrough and we're gonna see exactly what's involved and what's required, but, it's frankly, it's an embarrassment.
yeah, I'm
So,
taking both my granddaughters over to the world.
yeah,
So,
no.
They can use a lot of help.
You know, the fields, the buildings, the playground equipment. It's bad.
Thinking you could probably hit both of those areas.
Dave?
Dave View 59 Lee Avenue. On the rental issue, are rental properties examined periodically by the fire marshal?
Mhm.
Or they are?
They are, they're supposed to be yearly inspections for anything 2 families or more, 2 units or more. And for the most part, you know, we've been pretty lucky, but, the thing is, everything we have, everybody that we have is part-time. So to get to all of the rentals, sometimes it's not done on a yearly basis. And then we had COVID. So a lot has, we've not been able to keep up on everything, but, what I'm thinking is that there needs to be something in place that property owners need to know that when they have a vacant apartment, that apartment has to be inspected and they would pay a fee before it can be rented out again. And I think that that would eliminate a lot of, somebody leaving a really bad situation and somebody else just moving into it. So
What about having a private enterprise do the inspections at the landlord's fee?
well, if the landlord would pay, but this is the conversation that we're gonna have.
Okay.
So, yeah, there's a lot to think about and a lot to look at. Anybody else? Public forum? Yes,
Not to have it 60 Hook Hill. Glasgow Church, just go back in history, we did vote on it at a meeting. It was approved to move forward. Actually, we still have, I think I have the dollars, Steve mentioned put in the paper. I don't
oh,
Still, I find it in the meeting minutes. The problem we had was during COVID. And the town attorney did research for a clear title, and it was a hang up because Glasgow Finishing was sold to Wilmanic Thread, and Wilmanic Thread was sold to somebody down south, and they were still in existence, so we had to get it released from them. I think it just got lost after my expiration. He required before we take it.
was it Attorney Brant's?
Willis.
Willis, okay.
Matt has a file. The other thing I'll say is the church itself, when we inspected it, the sills are rotted on two sides, the back of the church behind the altar and a little bit on the right side when we inspected it. It can be fixed. It can be jacked up and done. And actually, Mr. Sakowicz that lives in town there at that time was offered to help us. Due to his age, I don't know if that's still, a possibility, but it's something that can be jacked up and be fixed. I don't know how much it progressed since we looked at it. But it does have asbestos siding, we know that. And I think it has asbestos floor tile.
Okay.
I don't know if they've had a remediation done on it or not, but
Would that qualify for brownfield?
probably would for the abatement. With the asbestos siding, I don't believe you can take off yourself anymore. You have to hire a contractor.
Yeah.
Years ago, you could do it yourself. I did it at my house, but now it was.
I will check with the young lady because there's some, through CCOG. Brownfield, assessments
As far
are available.
far as the monument goes, I have no problem moving it. We could probably do it fairly quick. I would just like to,
Know where it's going.
yeah, I don't know if you want to get all the veterans groups together to decide and agree, or I don't know.
I think you should pull in the whoever is overseeing that property out there, Veterans Park.
Well, I think somebody from the Board of Selectmen
Yeah.
and yourself and, maybe some of the other groups, just pick a spot. And then hopefully it can be done next couple weeks.
Yeah, well, we moved the cannon on this, I mean, it was just, this
I
is
was
a good
thinking about
spot,
a
yeah,
flagpole personally.
right,
Down
yeah,
the
that's a great idea,
Yeah.
yeah.
But I just want everybody in agreement, so we do it once.
Mhm.
We'll pour the base and then we'll move it and put it right on the base.
And I'll donate the concrete.
Thank you.
I think we can get a lot of buy-in on that if we.
Oh,
Oh,
absolutely.
yeah, no question.
Okay.
Appreciate it. Right now, you can't see it. And people.
No, it's disrespectful.
Right.
It is.
Agreed.
And the other thing with the skate park, if you decide on removal, it's something we could probably do in the winter months. We'd have to rent a breaker hammer on an excavator to break that up. It's got rebar and it's foundations under it. So
Okay.
it goes 3 feet down.
Oh, okay. All right. Any other public forum? Okay, hearing none.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion to adjourn at 7:52. Is it?
6:48.
Oh, sorry.
Jewett
It
City
feels
time
like it's
again.
been, yeah.
I'll second it.
I'll third
We
it.
have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you, everybody. Oh. You have a scorpion on your leg. Symbolic?
That is the emblem of the